Okay, now you're all set.
Okay, so I'd like to motion to call the ZBA, zoning board of appeals meeting to order. So, vote. Passes. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do is approve the board minutes. Did everyone take a chance to look at them? They look good? Okay, so I motion to approve the board minutes, for December 10th. Motion. Okay, vote. Passes unanimously, great. Village board updates, do we have anything, Mike?
Didn't have anything.
Didn't have anything, awesome sauce. Okay, director of planning, that's you, right? You don't have anything to add?
Nothing there.
Oh, wow, we're flying down here. Okay, so now we're gonna go to 52 Main Street. This is alcohol sales within 500-foot school, within 500-foot school or church. Did you guys read, the lawyer's thing? Everything look good to everybody? Okay, so we're gonna have a vote on that right now. So I motion to approve the lawyer's.
Well, at this point, because we changed the procedure a little bit, you're now voting on the variance and that this represents that.
Yes.
Is this going to be the vote to approve the variance?
Yes,
This is a statement that.
This is the vote to approve the variance. Okay, so I motion to have a vote to approve this variance. Okay. Second. Okay, passes, good, okay. Mike, do you want us to vote one by one or?
No, that's fine. Who seconded I miss? Yeah, okay.
Unanimous.
Okay, so does everyone, so just, you want to just vote?
Sure.
Okay, you start?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay,
Okay,
everyone passed.
and then I'll just have you sign it.
I'll sign at the end of the meeting, we're good to go. Okay, good, so you're set to go, you can now go make oxtail soup, we're very excited. Okay. Yeah, you there?
But who's in it too?
Yeah.
Spicy stew.
A little bit of rum in the oxtail soup. A little bit of rum in the oxtail soup.
Okay, so we're good, all right, so that's took care of that. Okay, so now we're gonna have the 25 Chestnut Street. Do I come down here? Okay, hi.
Can we just have a little discussion before he comes, or I don't know if it's appropriate, just some clarification, just with some of the information we got from the zoning board, is that something we're gonna do after the presentation, or from the planning board? I have a lot of
Yeah, he
questions.
can come to the table at the same time, though, it's all in the review.
He might answer our questions
My
first.
question is really for us, like for our attorney and for Mike, in terms of process, in watching the planning board meeting, and I feel like we're making this unnecessarily complicated for the applicant. There is, my impression of watching the meeting from January 7th is that the planning board believes they are the lead agency on this, and we are not. So,
Now it's supposed to be.
right, so there's request versus recommendation, and so. In that meeting, there was requests made of the applicant that from what we were told from last month, are more come from us, and that's our purview in this particular case. And I just want to make sure everybody, that we clarify before the applicant leaves today, what the process is, so that they're not answering to two separate boards.
Are
That's
we
a res-
requesting or recommending?
Yeah.
Right, so the
And vice
law, we're sending this out to the planning board for their recommendations. And they made recommendations, or they have questions regarding landscaping, lighting, parking, and I believe those are all things that we're gonna take into account, but the way in looking at that meeting or reviewing that meeting, there definitely seems to be some misunderstanding as to who is the lead.
So so it's not a lead agency situation, but. Let me just start by saying, this is the first time,
Yep,
to my awareness, to Alex's awareness, that this section of law has ever been applied.
correct.
So with that, it's a very foreign concept to the planning board. They normally would do site plan review. Now, what I said to them is, this is you doing site plan review without getting an approval. So they did have questions about parking, which were probably reasonable to ask about. Out of that, and it's in your packet because it just came in maybe an hour ago, the applicant has answered some of those questions. But to answer your question, this board is the deciding board. You can incorporate the planning board's questions, or not incorporate the planning board's questions, I mean, questions/comments.
So my point to all that, Michael, is that I just wanna make sure that that's clear to the applicant, because he made mention of that in the meeting, and that was. It was almost to seem like there was some disagreement about that.
No, well,
Again, I
yeah, you
just
see, at the end of the day, the planning board only they are not going to be doing an approval.
And I just wanna make sure that that's clear to him, because I felt in watching that meeting, we were unnecessarily complicating this process
Well,
for the applicant.
But to offer comments, you know, in now switching a little bit to their side, in order to offer comments, they can sort of bring up any part of the site plan that they wanted to, so, in asking, you know, and their letter to you guys, I emailed it and it's also in there. And one of the things they felt was they needed more information to be able to issue comments. That's that's this board's choice of whether you say, okay, yes, we agree, or no. we
And that,
don't.
I just felt like that's really
Yeah.
important before we continue, that there
Yeah.
was some clarification, because that was not
No, understood,
clear on
understood.
January 7th.
But part of the reason, and this is maybe a little bit on me, to offer comment, I wanted the applicant to come before the planning board. So he could directly answer the questions rather than me trying to interpret. This is what this means, this is what this means. So that may have caused some of the uneasiness, for lack of a better word, for them, because they were meeting with an applicant. And I think they felt like, you know, so a lot of it is, it's a brand new, it's not a new code, but it's the first time it's ever been
No, and
applied.
that's why I'm asking that it just be clarified.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't take offense to it, it's not a
No.
matter of them saying they were stepping,
No,
I look at it in the sense, I
Yeah.
view it in that they deal with.
but at the
something-
end of the day, this board is either giving the approval or not giving.
And I just wanna make sure that that's clear to the
Yeah,
applicant.
and whatever requirements you put on that approval are your choices of what to put on that. But the planning board, in this case, the planning board must comment, and so that's up to you guys to decide what you do with those comments, just like any other, you know, they're essentially a consultant.
But we don't have to, reviewing what their concerns were, we don't have to go back and forth on.
No, but you know, when you look at their letter, you will see that there's some aspects that they didn't feel they had the information to be able to comment on. So,
Oh, okay.
and just to point out, you still have to schedule this for public hearing. So they have 2 more meetings before it even gets to you guys for public hearing. So hopefully, if you can say,
Right.
well, we'd like to see these things on this, because ultimately,
Without slowing down.
you're approving the site.
Right, and actually, my point of all this is a clarification
Yep.
as to the process, because yes, I understand this is all new, it's never been
Yeah.
done before,
Yeah.
but that makes it difficult for the applicant.
Right, well, the piece you don't know is I met with the gentleman the next day after the planning board meeting. And sort
Okay.
of clarified with him these things, but yeah, so hopefully that answers your questions.
Nope, address my concerns.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, I think the best thing to do right now is just let him talk and hear what he has to say, and then we can look at what the planning board says, and if there's anything we feel that wasn't addressed, we can just bring it up. Okay?
Yes, we started to get to the new drawings.
No.
Okay.
And
I think
we saw.
Well,
Oh, no, I did. I saw the new drawings, but no one else did.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, they're in the folder, but I have the step here as well. With the exception of the site plan you just showed up, yeah, otherwise, that's the next one. Let me take that, so we don't get them mixed up. Here's the drawings for this one, you wanna hand me that folder, so if I keep that with this, thank you.
You guys know that.
Now, the one thing that's not in here is,
All right.
this site plan
Dimension.
that I just,
Here's this site plan.
oh, he's got a bigger version.
I've seen this already. This is what I needed to say. Thank you.
Oh, so this is only.
You've been, by the way, you've been excellent.
Thank you very much.
The fact that there's measurements on these plans, makes us so happy,
Sure,
and some people don't put measurements on their plans.
really.
Yes, it's wild, they like want the height elevation and they don't put how tall things are.
I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a builder, so I've seen it a lot.
Yeah,
you know,
strange.
architects.
Okay, so,
When I read the requirements, it said it needed percentage of land use, that's the existing restaurant, 16% of land use, so it's totally 20% of the
Yeah.
its land use. There's only 8 spaces.
yeah,
One of the things I understood was that the planning board can authorize 1.1 space per bedroom.
okay,
There's 5 bedrooms here, 2 bedrooms here.
You know, I can walk you through the, why don't I wait till the other guys are done looking at that plan now, and I can walk you through some RPS.
yeah.
But that would mean the restaurant on street. Technically, we get 30, we don't have
They do it for, one out of three has a car.
1 out of 3.
Yeah.
According to the owner, currently none of them have.
Yes. So.
Yeah. So there's just now, but.
So this is this grass here?
There's grass.
Okay, and this is all asphalt, and this is all asphalt.
Yeah, and it's all one, right then it's all one big space, but this is actually one. It's like under it. But you actually move it back into here. The only thing that we're changing landscape wise is that's it, because the building kind of sits on
Yeah,
it. So we're removing the building. And we're, that's, and then the expense that we have to. We're both.
that's all I wanted to say.
So Sean, there's a memo from Alex.
You can say.
There's a memo from Alex that's printed in these documents.
Can't leave the dorm.
It's in your.
Yeah, change our whole look.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that we changed it because my name is on it, but I'd rather have it be pretty.
Right, so we forced them for you.
Yeah, yeah, because they were really like.
Well, also it's nice coverage over the. Yeah.
Yeah, and we also have a similar coverage over the stairs, but you guys see it, but it's like the white phone, it's an overhang of the blue line.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Over.
So for the board, in your printed packet that I put in front of you tonight, there's a letter from the code enforcement officer and a letter from the planning board. And then there's the new site plan, which he has a large copy of.
I suggested one is super similar. This is very well. At least not, at least in mine.
I'm glad that.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
Here's the site plan that the planning board, we do the same thing.
Did they? It's 1 for 1 bedroom
So,
and 2 for,
so
or 2 for 1 bedroom and 2 for 2.
So, well, the parking standards, which can be varied, are 3 spaces for every single family house. So they're building a 2-family house essentially, 1 up, 1 down, so that needs 6 spaces. On the property is the restaurant, which needs 8 spaces. And the existing residential is a 6-bedroom.
5.
Oh, it's a 5? Okay, well then, he had calculated at 6, but, so that would be a total of 20 spaces that are required. Now, given that it's on the public street and there's public parking on the street, if this was being reviewed for site plan, the planning board could lower it to 1.1 per
one per bed.
One per bed.
Remember that apartment complex off of.
And are they the only ones who can change it?
there?
Well, in this case, because the zoning board is reviewing it, they can make that change.
They can make it 1.1? Okay,
So then if I'm understanding it correctly, instead of the 6, then we'd be looking at 2.2 for the new
No,
structure.
yeah,
no, it's 1.1 per,
Right.
yes,
so it's
yes,
2.2.
correct, 2.2, correct.
there's a total of 7 bedrooms on the property. So it would be 7.7.
Yeah, except I think, only because Alex has said it's 6 in the existing, unless we're sure it's 5.
Well, the owners are like, I talked to them this morning, and
Yeah.
there's only 5 bedrooms in it.
Unfortunately, he's telling us our records say it's 6, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
They may not be using it as a bedroom,
Right, it
but
might be something
it may be an approved bedroom.
understood.
So, that's the only reason I don't think we can change that to 5 unless we verify.
Right,
But
Yeah.
even still, you could potentially change the 12 that are required to 8.8, which would be 1.1 for each bedroom.
we can squeeze a 0.8 car in here somewhere.
And then-
1.8 is that,
Yeah.
compact,
We just,
compact parking lot?
right,
Well, and the other thing is too, you could, basically ask for that 9th one. Because the 6 bedroom or the 5 bedroom, whichever it may be, is not individual rentals, it's one family, so potentially they don't have 1.1 per bed.
right,
So, you could make that request for appeal to say instead of 6.6 for that structure. Let us do 6, or let us do 5.
5, yeah.
Or
5.1.
Change it.
Yeah, if you can verify that it is indeed
4 units.
5 bedrooms.
The general
that
fund is
answers the question.
out there.
Right. Which we could do that before the
Yeah,
public hearing.
you'll just wanna check that with Alex too, cause
Yeah.
his record says it's 6.
Yeah, I'd like to have him, I can ask him to come over and.
Yeah.
We can schedule.
One would be acceptable.
We can do that before the public hearing, so that it's resolved.
So, but evidently that.
We're calling this a 2-family home as opposed to.
Well, because it's 2 separate apartments,
Right.
it's a 2-family home,
Yeah, so
but
that's,
it's,
cause I'm recalling the apartment. Parking code that we've dealt with in the past, and I'm having a hard time not.
no, the standards are one, each family home, and that's what, even if it's an apartment. It's still, 3 spaces for the first, 3 spaces for the unit.
You remember the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know,
That was definitely 2 to 1 and then 2, and then 1 to 1 after 2.
yeah. Yeah,
So if it was 1, it was 2, if it was 2 or 3 or 4.
yeah, it was
3 or 4.
2 per thing, and then every additional, but after 2 bedrooms, it was.
It didn't add on, right?
It just,
Yeah.
it added on, so it was a 3 bedroom, it was 3 things, but the.
Right, but a 1 bedroom is 2,
Was 2.
5 bedroom is 5.
Yes,
Let me look up the code.
Yeah. The case was the apartment that wanted to change the 4
Yeah,
units.
I mean, because this is Alex's determination, we have to go with that, and you guys are allowed to vary it as long as you don't exceed the code, so.
Right.
And that code is, they can go 1.1.
That confuses me because I know that's what it was.
Do you know what section that might have been in? Because we're going by the parking section of the code, so.
I'll have to look up the old case, that was, I can't even remember the address.
But either way, Mike, they can change it to 1.1 as a zoning board. So that would negate all of the information.
okay,
Yeah. And if I do look it up and I'm remembering it correctly, it works out to 7 or 8 if this is 6. So you do right.
Yeah, but remember, you do have to include the existing,
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Yeah.
But
and then the restaurant, but.
Yeah, that's
it
good.
appears that all the restaurant parking is being utilized on the street.
Yeah,
Do restaurants have to have a certain amount of spaces?
Cause
Cause there's a lot of restaurants in town that have no parking.
right, one space for 3 seats. But bear in mind, if the restaurant predated zoning,
But-
you know.
but that also, it's in a radius, right? They're allowed to use
Right.
public.
See, because this restaurant. This property doesn't have a site plan, so this restaurant never got a site plan, but because there's a new application. We now have to apply the code on the entire property, we can't just dismiss the restaurant as. Maybe it never needed, you know, it didn't need parking, you can take that into consideration to say there's on-street parking available. In your discussion.
And there's municipal parking, according to the planning board, there's municipal parking within 400 feet.
Yeah.
I didn't see it that way, but that's what they said.
Well, remember. What's the name of that, Moxico, that property? Next to convenient.
Yeah.
When we were talking about that with the restaurant, I remember that it was a radius, so the road
Yeah.
behind it, they couldn't even access it if they wanted to count it as parking.
Yeah, okay, alright,
So there, somewhere in the code, there's a radius that,
yeah, also too, this is.
Okay, I think I just found what you were thinking of, multifamily structures and townhouses. 2 spaces per dwelling unit containing a maximum of 2 bedrooms, plus 1 space for each additional bedroom. But this is not a multifamily, this is not, because it's 2 single-family units. It's not an apartment building. Which has, because a multifamily has to have 3 or more units.
okay,
So
so
this-
I should be thinking of this as.
As 2 single-family structures.
Instead of-
Okay,
Alright.
alright, okay,
So
so,
that, but what you were remembering was the multifamily.
Okay.
So this is 3 spaces per dwelling, containing a maximum of 3 bedrooms, plus 1 space for each additional bedroom.
You don't know this dimension across here, is it?
I don't, but you can scale it, I think.
Yeah.
And to.
please, wait.
36.5.
If the scale is right.
Yeah.
That's. Not gonna be like- Yeah, I don't have my scale. I used to have one.
Do you need one? I think we have one in the office.
Oh, do you? Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So these 8 spaces, these are cars, if.
Right.
The space.
Yeah, right,
Potential
close.
12
We need to
to
have-
10 feet per spot, right?
16.
Correct.
You
Think you can be as low as 9? I'd have to look that up too.
Yeah,
Just keeps
yeah,
opening.
you might be able to get more in there.
I think we could, this was
You
based on what Howard
Like
said.
81 would be 9 spots at 9 foot, it says.
Right. And we have about 85, slightly,
Is that, and it's all asphalted, right?
it's all asphalt,
So you
right,
can-
where that line is grass,
So you could stripe it, so it would be, it could really fit in.
yes.
Okay, alright. That's,
Okay, so the US standard is 8.5 to 9 feet, so yeah, you could fit. If that's 81 feet, which it looks like it's more than that.
I can see if the 36 is right.
Yeah.
I did this in a hurry, just. We have got an inch right.
this
Yeah,
is, what's the scale?
It's 1 inch, 1 inch is 8 feet. According to what my computer said, but I didn't, usually I print it out and then I check it, but I didn't get a chance to check it.
okay, so it's 8, yeah, so 36.5, so yeah, so that works out, so this is. From where the front of the step is to this abutment, it's like 88. So realistically, with it not being awkwardly pushed to the thing, you can have 81, you can get 9 spots.
Yeah,
And then that kind of
solves the problem.
or at least the not worrying about if that's a 5 or a 6,
Yeah,
because now we could be
at 9, we're,
8.8.
yeah, at 9, we're, you're very comfortable with 9 spots, that would be awesome. 9 is, that's 1/3.
Oh, so yeah.
No, that's what.
That's awesome. All right,
So I'm just reading here about the non-residential uses in the business district, which it says. Required parking spaces for non-residential uses shall be provided on the same lot or within 400 feet.
400 feet, and
So
what,
as long as there's 8 spots within 400 feet,
well, but that includes the restaurant.
H,
The 400,
no, the 8 spot for the restaurant, so the 8
oh, the
spots.
restaurant only needs 8,
There's more than that.
Yeah,
As long as there's 8 spots available
there's 8
on the street
to the
within
left.
400 feet, so. The answer is you don't need to consider any of the restaurant spots on the lot.
Right, but it
But-
would be nice to
but
get them
all-
on
According to this, for residential use in a business district, all the residential parking must be on the lot.
Alright,
So you've gotta somehow get your number to be 8 to match, or he's gotta find more parking spots.
Well, he's got 8 or 9, and we think
we
maybe we can get 9.
can do now,
Okay,
if.
well, if he can do 9, then you're good, as long as you can get this 12
yeah,
down, and you can, because we've already said that the 2 1-bedroom units can be 2.2 spaces,
Right,
so,
So it's 8.2, and if you got 9, you're there.
yeah.
yeah, okay, good.
So you'll just want to redraw that, show 9 spaces. The spaces do need to be
9 foot.
9 wide by 18 feet.
I thought you said 8.6.
Well, that was US, I don't know if,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's,
But-
I'm pretty sure it's 9
but
by
you
18.
can fit, that'd be
Yeah,
81 feet.
81
right?
feet,
Yeah,
yeah. Anyone put that over 9 cars.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
that sounds like a pretty simple solution as long as.
Sure.
Here's fine with that.
Are they straight in, or they?
I just put them on angle, but people park
Yeah.
straight in.
Oh, cause that.
People do park
86.
straight in when they're there. I just put on angle
That's
for the
the big
drawing.
6s, it's dying.
Yeah, you're actually gonna wanna do them straight in, because that's. Cause if it goes angled, then you need, oh no, that's the width between aisles, so, yeah, it's 9 by 18.
But
But
that's not-
looking at the space straight in would work better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that just.
That's the way they park. I was there today and everybody parked straight in.
Okay.
Yeah, so if they could fit 9 spots straight in by the dimensions, then I personally am okay with that part of it.
Yes, that's also.
And then it would be up to, you know, this board if you wanted to have them strike to demarcate them, which probably would be a good idea.
I think that just kind of clarifies that we were paying attention to it, right?
Yeah, and if you don't strike a parking lot, you're gonna have
Especially that part.
people
Free
parking and taking, it's gonna be awful.
There was a person in 2 spaces today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least if you put lines down, you know whose fault it is,
Sure.
and then, you know, people can take care of it,
Right.
you know, by keying the car and flattening the tires and doing that kind of.
Whatever you guys do.
Yes, so yeah, as long as that, or, you know, chalk and writing bad words next to it, whatever, so yeah, so I can take care of that, if that's run it, so that would be, and that's minimal expense, that's gonna be a can of spray paint, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so I think, so we're good with parking, anyone have any questions to ask about parking, okay, so the other stuff, we didn't let you talk, so why don't you talk and tell us what you,
I think you guys know everything that I know. I did change the drawing.
yes. By the way, excellent. I was very happy.
Good, me too, because it's my name on it, and I'd rather have it look pretty than bigger.
Yeah,
This is,
this looks so much nicer.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And it's gonna save the money in the end because you don't wanna pay people to shovel stairs.
Right,
That's really expensive,
sure,
as opposed to a plow and just push the snow around, that's really cheap.
right,
So it's, yeah, it's gonna cost an extra couple of bucks, but you're gonna make it back.
yeah,
So it's definitely, you did, I think you did every single thing we asked. I didn't see any. I did have a question for you.
sure.
Did you or the client watch the YouTube video at all?
I watched a little bit of it.
Okay, all right. I was just curious, cause I was like, wow, he hit, like, cause my comment was, when I saw it, I was like, he hit everything we asked for, I was like, very happy.
Good.
And, they didn't see the plans until now, so I'm just speaking for myself.
I wouldn't have, yeah, looking at the plans here, we had a few things, you know. Some dimension, character of some sort. The way that you enclose the stairs and use that feature to give character really. Was kind of multi-purpose for me, that was a home run as far as I'm concerned.
Thanks.
Was there any other things?
I guess my only question is, you know, obviously the planning board made mention of landscaping and lighting. Is there anything you think we need to be aware of with
I just wrote
in
on,
regards to those items on here?
on the site plan, I just wrote that the only spot that's going to be addressed in terms of landscaping is where the building was. We're not covering that footprint, so that might be a patio, depending on how the slab looks, or it might be grass. And I wrote it on the site plan. Well, other than that, we're not planning on doing any landscaping, it's already done for the most part.
Did you, a question, did you include that either or information on the site
Click
plan?
on the site plan.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, as long as that information is there, because Alex has to go by so if it's not put in there as a potential patio. Then it's gotta go, it can't be a patio.
right,
If you put it as a potential and you don't do it, that's okay,
right.
the other way around isn't okay.
Right, yeah, and it is dependent upon what's underneath that shed. That's, we
Right.
dirt right now. but
And I
think
mean,
it's,
you're essentially thinking whatever it looks like is the easier route.
Right, whatever
That
stands
patio
out.
doesn't bring you much.
No, but if you don't do the patio and you put it in grass, then that's okay.
Yeah, well, but he put
Yeah.
grass or paper patio, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right,
I mean, and the rest of the property's flat, like, I don't know what
Yeah.
landscaping.
And did you get the cut sheets for the lighting?
I did,
Great. So if you can leave that with me,
okay,
I'll put it in our
I was
file.
gonna email you a copy.
Perfect, email is great,
Okay,
so.
so the lighting, can I see that since we didn't see the lighting sense? Just switch it to me.
So these are the two that are on the front of the,
right, there's one here and one there.
and then there's also over the.
Right, I didn't put those in because I didn't think they addressed the parking areas
Right.
of these.
So these are gonna be on all night, or these are gonna be motion sensors?
They're motion sensor.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right.
What's
And
the
there is one on the restaurant already.
point, pointing this, yeah,
Yeah, pointed that way, yeah.
what is the?
I think it was 60,000, something like that.
So they're downward pointed and shielded,
And shielded, yeah.
that's the code requirement.
They're right by the windows there also, so. That's really probably the easier way is to just go on the building as opposed to having to lighting.
Right,
Yeah. And that looks nice too. No,
and it's higher up than anything else.
Yeah. That's what I wanna see.
Are they LED?
Yep,
100,000 hours.
and so we talked, so the planning board about the parking, this is the site plan, so we took care of that. You explained how many parking spots, we proposed putting in an extra spot. You discussed the lighting. And landscaping, there's not much to do because it's already all asphalt.
So I do think that whatever. just to make sure we're super clear, is to double check the width that you could put the 9 spots, and then that makes that a lot easier on us.
Yeah.
If you wanna give me a call tomorrow, I can tell you how to. What you should do is just do a parking chart in somewhere on the site plan in the corner. I'll just walk you through how it should be laid out.
Okay, great.
But based on the 9 spots that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All black. It's all black top and there's not much. I mean, you.
Or actually, well, physically,
There's grass, so that's
Okay.
grass.
Make sure that we have anyone.
Yeah. What would be, what's this? So this.
Oh, is that a manhole cover?
But that is a pole,
Oh, that's a pole.
yeah, there's a pole there, that's, the power comes from there to the existing house.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And
And is that curved? The. The
The
grass
grass.
between the grass and the blacktop, or is that just blacktop? Is there a curve on that?
Right here,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, in front of the cars,
no, it looks pretty straight when you're standing there,
it's blacktop, no,
blacktop up to the grass,
up to the grass.
and that line looks pretty straight.
And what's over here?
Down there is the elementary school, I mean, there's a
Daycare.
daycare center.
Five hands or something hands.
Yeah, tiny thing.
Tiny,
I'll keep them.
yeah, anyway,
Something, yeah.
and then that's the shed for the.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any more questions. I think we addressed pretty much what the planning board said, right? I didn't see any gaps. Do you have any more? Because we're gonna have a public hearing, so we're gonna have more time to talk about this if we need to.
I did plan on going to the planning board one more time with this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what I would recommend and what I'm suggesting to the ZBA is that you do a motion to resend this back to the planning board. But you may wanna do what you did last time, is just have the chair review your changes that you're gonna make, showing the parking in the new configuration.
Yeah.
Have Sean okay it, send it to the planning board. I would suggest, rather than try to get that for next week's meeting, do it for the first meeting in February, which is a week before their meeting. So that way you have time, you're not rushed.
Right,
You
and
can give him a better product, and he has time to look at it.
their suggestions should be set to come up during the public hearing, that's the question I have, can we set the public hearing?
Yeah, well, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's further down on my list, but the first motion you should do is to resend this back to the planning board. Once the changes have been made.
So that the planning board, because we wanted the planning board's opinion,
You want a second, you want?
well. Initially, we asked for their opinion, and they basically said they weren't able to give it to us because they didn't have the answers to
Right.
these questions.
Now that you're showing the parking spaces, you should give that to them.
If it doesn't slow.
It
the
doesn't slow
process,
anything
then
down.
I don't think.
The planning board were a one-page letter telling you they couldn't give you an opinion?
Well.
There's a copy in your file, David.
That was a discussion I had, I asked Mike about clarity.
Your question was actually astute, and I thought it was over-answered, actually. But here's my thought, you guys can obviously do what you want, this is maybe a new area, but Mike, what does the code say about the planning board advice? I mean, is the planning board supposed to be like actively managing the project, or is it?
No, not at all.
It's supposed, in most situations, for example, where the ZBA is asked for its referral and advice, or for that matter, even the county, they give their advice, and then the board with jurisdiction moves forward based on that
Right,
recommendation, right?
but in those circumstances, it's what's considered a complete application, because this application didn't show parking. They didn't believe that they had the information, so here's what the code says. When a non-conforming use or structure is destroyed or damaged for a loss of 80% or more of its value, or when the owner or tenant of said use or structure desires to rebuild for any reason, the zoning board of appeals, after review and recommendation by the planning board, may authorize such rebuilding if the rebuilding would not constitute a substantial enlargement of the use, and if the rebuilding will provide better aesthetics, higher setbacks, or assist in alleviating existing nuisance characteristics. In this case, it is changing the use, because what's there now is a single family. It's now going to one families, but it's still a smaller footprint.
With respect to the planning board, the charge, this application is before this board. The planning board is supposed to and is allowed to weigh in with its advice. In my interpretation of this, and this is not a unique provision, this happens all the time with respect to this board, on a planning board issue or the county as well, 239M. The advising board gets to give you advice, typically that's one shot, it's not multiple, because that if it becomes multiple, then that almost looks like that other board is overseeing this board's work. So I guess the question is, if the board doesn't feel, if the board feels that it's appropriate to give the planning board a fuller opportunity to give you their advice because they didn't have it the last time, then go ahead. If you don't feel you got the planning board's full advice, and the planning board obviously doesn't feel that, then it's okay. But again, I would suggest the advising board should have one bit of advice to this board, and ultimately this board should be not only the ultimate decision maker, which is what was discussed before, but also the one governing the process, as whatever changes there are, whatever information is necessary. It's this board that's processing it, and the planning board giving you essentially one bit of advice on what they think, and that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be involved in everything. And if they're not, by some reason, that's not fatal. They're not, because it's not their jurisdiction. If they, obviously any information they have, any information they can get and can give you is perfectly acceptable. But this board is running this application, and the planning board gets to give advice, and you do not have to govern this so that the planning board has the chance to advise on everything. But if you feel that they haven't had a full chance to give you the advice that you need, then go ahead. So I would just frame it that way, and especially with respect to your question, you're governing this, they're giving you a bit of advice. It's no different, but structurally, in that structure, from any other time that you give the planning board your own advice, or like I said, the county under 239M does this all the time. It's one comment, unless something massively changes.
And I did do what they asked, they requested. I don't think they have any other requests.
So and again, I've not followed all the details on this because you guys have been involved in it, and I have, but I just want, just in terms of this relationship with the planning board, they're the advising agency. Again, and I don't mean to be reductive on it, but that typically means one shot, because if it becomes more, it looks like they're starting to govern the process, and that's not what.
I guess I was looking at that, part of it is more of an admin thing, I could care less,
It's like you have the freedom to just not,
Yeah,
to
it's
not
fine.
let the planning board,
That-
but obviously,
Like,
we can respect what they're saying, but this is your discretion, it's your decision, you have that jurisdiction.
I don't care either way. My only point to all of this to start out was that it just seemed there was misunderstanding, and I did not want the applicant to go back and forth.
That's my concern.
maybe it's 5 years.
He does not have that.
I think we can do this both ways. I don't think any of us is opposed to the planning board getting information. Okay, right? I don't think we're, okay. And I don't think you're opposed to doing it.
Nope.
Okay, so let's do both. Let's give them the information. I don't think people getting more information is a bad thing. Also, this is a public document right now because it's been given to the village, so if they wanted to, they could see it. So let's just give it to them. I don't see any downside to this.
What I could do is in the letter to refer this to the planning board too, I will just do a synopsis of that you came to the conclusion based on the code that 9 spaces are required.
Yeah,
And give them the information of the conclusions you guys have reached.
Yeah.
I mean, they may look at those plans and see something that we didn't from an aesthetic standpoint, a lighting standpoint, and I'd appreciate that. At some point, I just want to make sure it is.
but I think you need to understand we're the board that you have to make happy, not them.
Right. And I'm doing
Okay.
everything I can to tickle you.
And you guys, you're crushing it. You are crushing it. I think we're very happy with you right now.
Also, to be clear to the board, the planning board reviewing it, there's no cost to the applicant other than his time.
Yeah.
There's no.
And he has to do it anyway, you just have to hand it in.
Time is
Okay,
right.
so I do a motion to give this information to the planning board. You're gonna get it to them, not this meeting, but by the next meeting.
Yeah.
I will sign for it and say that it's okay. And.
My only question, does that prevent us from putting this as a public hearing?
No,
No, that's not.
Okay.
We're doing that.
yeah, ultimately.
They have
We
it,
still have a lot of public.
they have it simultaneously.
Yeah.
More.
I just wanna make sure that's all.
Yeah, we're not gonna slow this down at all. This is not getting slowed down. So, so we're gonna send it to them as courtesy. So they can see the information and he answered all their questions, but it's just letting them know that he answered all their questions, which is polite. And that's it. So I motion for that. Motion.
Second.
Vote. Okay, unanimous. Okay, so now we'd like I'd motion to set a public hearing for this property.
And then there's two other pieces of business we have to do.
Okay.
About this property.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that one first though, so for next meeting. Which would be Sunday. You got the calendar?
It is February 11th.
Okay, so set a public hearing for February 11th. The village officer will tell you what you need to do in terms of notice. And as long as you get the notice in, I do not envision a ton of people showing up, but we have to have that.
Sure.
And so I motion for that.
Motion.
Second, vote. Okay, so now you have a public hearing. What else do we have to do, Mike?
You need to set this as a type 2 action for seeker.
Okay, yes, okay, so I motion to set this as a type 2 for speaker. Second, vote. Aye, okay, unanimous.
Who was motion?
Motion.
Motion,
Second.
yeah,
Sorry.
no worries.
And then the last thing is, because this is not setback area variance, it's much like the alcohol, it's required to be sent to the county planning board. Because it's on North Chestnut Street,
Yes,
so we need a motion to refer to the county planning board. It will be on their February agenda, so you'll have answers back before your public hearing.
okay, so a motion to send this to the county planning board.
Motion.
Second. Vote. Aye, okay, that's all done.
Do I take care of that or do you take care of that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just make sure that people get notified, put up the sign.
And I'll,
Everything you have to do.
Yeah.
you and I can talk and I'll get you all the information for the public hearing and all that.
Okay. I'll be in touch with you in the morning.
Can you leave me one of those ones?
I'll leave you both of them.
Okay.
I'm gonna change my answer.
Right. Yeah, I just
Oh,
want
my name.
to keep the progress. Right. So I'll trade you. I'm going to give you back this one.
You guys have a good night.
You too.
Oh, wrong. You guys want it? Morning.
Thanks, Mike. No problem. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. So you guys are,
I'm Dave Toder of Boulder Architecture. This is
Okay.
Elizabeth Siren, the owner of the property.
okay.
And
Hi, Carl.
The neighbor. Martha.
yeah, so the direct neighbor.
Okay.
And you see, 5-foot building height variance for solar access.
Okay.
And then Elizabeth had some initial comments.
I think the narrative document, you probably have it right, so I won't bore you by reading through it. But I'm sort of like, spend all night there. But just, we felt like there were a few different aspects of why this is maybe straightforward and there's no one really suffering the result. And one that we were placing the house sort of far back from the buildable area, even though I think the views because my current house is in the way of the views. I currently live at 28 Cooper. But we felt like that was the better choice for the neighborhood, for neighbors, including 30 Cooper Street, which is my neighbor who's joined us tonight. So that was the better choice for the neighborhood, and it also allowed us to have, more of the size that we need. We need to have more sort of space for aging in place and parents moving in with us, and we have another child since we built the other house 10 years ago. So that was the first aspect, is that we've kind of done this in a really neighborly way. The second aspect is that really there's no one suffering from the additional height because we moved it back out of line of sight, in particular, 30 Cooper Street, our fellow house would be impacted if the house was further forward, but she won't have to look over it from her view. And then the only house that will, look at it, it's more height will be 28 Cooper, which is my house, so more of the height. Also, there's no impact on the preserve, no trails in this area, it's not acceptable, because there's no public access roadway, parking. There's a stream that cuts through this area, and they haven't bridged to the trails, so really, you know, kind of see this house and know it's there and preserve, and there's no shade impact because the house is north of the preserve. The big advantage, keeping that advantages for us, solar. And so the angle of the roof is better for solar instead of a flatter roof, which sheds snow in the winter, which means, you know, usually is a problem, maybe not this winter so far. So it'll shed snow and solar production won't be compromised. And then also the height of the house clears the shade from the preserve. The preserve is wooded all the way up to the property line. So that's important. Another really important factor for us is the character of the house. We can build this house in size and footprint with flatter roofs, which wouldn't be great for solar. We add for the solar, but it would also not be the aesthetic that we prefer. It would be much more modern looking. So the sloped roofs, the greater pitch, what we desire in terms of aesthetics, and our neighbors also desire. They also want to look at nothing against modern architecture, but not to anyone's taste around us, or to our taste. And then, you know, these are energy efficient homes. Dave has been involved with all of these homes that have been built in the neighborhood, including our first one. And so we're trying to build, you know, a very energy efficient house, solar and geothermal, just like our house at 28 Cooper. The last thing I'll let Dave speak to, the houses in the neighborhood are just quite tall. So I don't know if you have that attachment.
We have, have you guys seen this?
They said, so it's swung on preserve.
That's the Millbrook. I don't know what.
So,
that-
yeah,
it's
that's,
great.
I was like,
It's called that, but that's what the property now today.
so where do those trails go? Versus.
So, usually when you wanna shed snow, you don't have a roof going into another roof, creating a notch that will hold snow. So that, like, building a taller roof to shed snow and you then put another roof next to it makes no sense. If you wanna shed snow, you don't do that.
Right.
Okay, so that's not a legitimate reason to do this project, right?
A portion of the roof that will be an issue for sure.
Yeah, but most of your roof where the solar panels are is facing onto another roof. That's a huge valley there. There's valleys on most of this. You've got valleys everywhere. If you're trying to shed snow, that's not how you build the roof.
The valley in those corners.
Yeah, like when the snow hits here and comes in here, there's gonna be snow trapped in there. I mean, like, you said you were building the roof line for snow shedding.
In part.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, but your structure isn't designed that way at all. There's no. You don't, if you want the roof to shed snow, you don't then put another roof and put a valley in there that will capture the snow.
Our only goal was to do snow shedding. It was
Okay, so,
one,
but that's not what your drawings don't show shed roof.
optimal snow shedding. I agree.
Okay, all right, so the sun is, I had to look this up. Sun is 147,123,322 kilometers away from us. How is 5 feet taller gonna make much of a difference in terms of percentage closer to the sun? That's not really much.
It's not how much closer it is, it's compared to the trees that are to the south.
The trees are to the south
Of the preserve.
Yeah.
of the preserve.
which I showed him.
So the idea is just, I'm understanding correctly, but you know, raise the back 5 feet so that you get more sun. If it's down, the trees from the preserve blocked it, and you will not generate as much.
That's right, over the course of the year, and you know, the course of the sun's path, you're getting more sun because it's higher. And that's just, you know, at dusk and dawn, you know, as it rises and sets, you're getting a little more sun by raising it higher. So that's, you know, in terms of solar access, that's the strongest point.
How many
Why
panels,
we'd be doing this.
how many panels are on it?
That hasn't been finally determined. It's going to be, calculated by the energy rater. The actual number of panels, it's based on the energy usage of it. So it's schematically got approximately the number of panels that it needs. But the actual number of panels is not known yet.
Okay, so when will you know that?
Around construction document time. I mean, we're gonna be filling most of the available south roof with panels. And we might have some on the west as well, because you actually do get a fair amount of, you know, insulation in the west, so that how much we're actually gonna need. So the energy rater does calculations based on the, you know, the final size and the actual window placements, which are approximate but not finalized yet. And then he does all the calculations. It's a, you know, local firm in town. And sizes the geothermal system as well, and make sure that it can actually be a little plus energy, because that's how we do it.
Yeah,
So eventually we'll be discussing this question, so I just want to hear your statement right off the bat. Say that this is a no-go. What do you change?
Sure, we would flatten the roofs.
But
We could show you what that would look like. We've looked at it before. You know, it's inferior for all these reasons. But
Right.
it's also ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, but, yeah, I mean, all of these reasons I articulated, you know, including the shedding of snow, none of them are by themselves,
what is it, 12? It's
some of them are.
That's this roof.
Yeah.
What is the roof at? What angle?
The main roof is
Oh, the main roof.
9/12, yeah.
9/12, for this area, shouldn't that be a 12/12
And Anthony says,
for maximum
going
solar?
back from. the picture
I
map.
believe it's 812. 812 is what we found is that's the one that's close, it's about 44 degrees latitude, and that's the angle is approximately 812. That also sheds snow. 1212 is not the correct angle for here, but it would also make it a taller roof. So I mean, we don't want to go that direction.
What are the heights of the interior floor levels?
They're approximately 9 foot.
They're 9 foot, 9 foot.
Little bit
The second floor is not. The second floor is 8 foot or a little lower
Yeah.
in some areas.
So you have 9 foot.
The main floor is 9, I think, the lower.
Right, and then the lower floor is also 9 foot, though that one has less of an effect because it's you know, the halfway, it's the average grade. That's a walkout basement. So the 9 foot ceiling heights in the basement don't really affect as much. So it's really just the first floor.
And there's no living in the roof area.
No,
Is there cathedral ceilings in there?
Yes, it's partially up into the roofs. So it's
there's no.
I guess you could say they see those ceiling. There's no attic space.
it's vaulted, not.
It's vaulted, that's right.
Part of it will be.
Okay.
Master.
So what is the? It's just this portion then,
Yeah,
because this drop, well, that's still probably over,
It's this right here.
yeah.
So
from the street, it's 31
Yeah.
But from the overall average is pretty comprehensive. Point, about 6 inches of 30.5.
Yeah, we were saying we could
Yeah.
lift grade potentially a little bit to make it so that from the front, it was at the code.
Yeah. we talked about that.
Yeah, but ultimately it would still be
Still very.
Same height, yeah.
Yeah, so you basically the back where it drops away from the road and sight, that's where it kind of comes past that's where the 5 foot would really,
Height is great.
the 5 foot I would be basically below. But everything from the front would look.
So not
to code.
this isn't so much a question for them. This might be something we'll have to look into. He listed all the neighbors' houses here, like, did these have variances or are these separate?
I can tell you,
Not for height.
Yeah.
right, we were granted several height variances, though those were not built in 2016. That's right.
20.
Right, so these earlier ones, as I noted on the application, I hadn't realized that the village had its own definition for building height. I was aware of the state code definition, which is average height of a sloped roof. And the village of Lee Falls has a definition that says it's the peak of a
Right.
sloped roof, so it compresses. Anyway, so, and the building department didn't catch it. And a number were built. And so actually the neighborhood characteristic is taller than code.
Also a steep hillside, so
Right,
most of the time it doesn't. Much impact.
I'm not sure if that helps.
I know.
Certainly.
Where did you get the height measurements from?
My drawings.
Your drawings? Okay, all right. So so if we went to the house and measured it, it would be that exact measurement?
Pretty close. They look just like my drawings, you know, they're accurately drawn and built pretty much.
I was just looking at weird oddball measurements, which is wondering why that was that such strange measurements.
So,
Yeah, they're pretty precise.
Sean, just to clarify,
Yeah,
the building height definition says the vertical distance measured from the mean level of the ground surrounding the building to the highest point of the roof. So mean
Of the ground.
of the ground level, which, given that all 4 corners are different ground levels, possibly, I don't know the answer to that, you would know, David, but it says the mean, so that means the average of those 4 heights is the way I would.
So in theory, if that sloped evenly, basically where the front of the house would be, should be. If everything in front of it is higher and everything below it is lower.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not how Earth works, but.
I mean, the only way I can think to calculate this is to take the actual height from the natural ground level to the highest point at all 4 corners.
Right.
And come up with the mean of those 4 numbers.
Is it it's the relatively.
Yeah.
Evenly sloping from front to back then?
Well, the existing terrain isn't exactly, I mean, it's relevant, but it's going to look roughly like the drawing. And so I specifically made it so it's mostly at that upper level and less than half is at the lower level.
Right.
And part of that is so that the walkout basement is not defined as a story by building code. Because we're limited to 2.5 stories. So it has to be mostly below ground. And that works with the mean average height of grade. And so there is in one spot, it's basically there's a line drawn dimension and that midpoint is what's brought up to the peak to get the building height.
And that's the number that we're using on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's depicted in the south elevation, that middle, that line there.
Yeah, that it.
Yes, there's that and the west elevation is where you can see that average grade dimension. And how that's where the bottom of that, building height is.
Yeah, the maximum height that's allowed under the total schedule is 30 feet.
Okay, so even.
So you're getting, your variance is whatever is exceeding the 30 feet, whatever number you come up with.
On here, it's 4.6.
So the road we were saying from, because it slopes from the road back was roughly 31-ish. So we're still, okay.
You're 87 feet off the roadway.
Yeah.
And so you have to read that.
Far back.
Right, and tucked back at the corner there. So it'll be very visually distant from, the road. And then you just have the two neighbors really, who are adjacent. Represented here in the room.
Rob, did you see?
Yeah. It was, yeah.
So this is where the property is.
Exactly. Is that goes all the way up and behind
Right,
the school.
so that's the.
The blue trail, yeah. The stream and the blue trail and it's pretty good.
Yes.
So deep
Mhm.
there.
There's a. It used to be made like. It used to go.
Oh, no, it's being torn down. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, that's toward
Yeah,
the
you
end
can kind of
somewhere,
see
right?
it from the back.
How many square feet is this?
What did you, I think you, the application.
I did put that in there.
Or. That's obviously sort of. Tells. Oh, and building permit applications. I think, right, it's not on the PTA application.
4,000, just over 4,000.
Yeah, so.
It's on 2 lots, so we're combining 2 lots together. It is a larger house,
Yeah, it's massive. It
but
does-
it's on a larger lot than.
It's
than
a-
it's
It's
basically
a wider
twice as
house,
large.
but not as tall, not as, like, the current house is.
It's way bigger than all the houses around it.
Most of the houses are actually stacked tall, so our current house is 3.5 stories, and one of the reasons I wanted to do something different is it's not a very accessible house for anyone challenged.
Your current house is
3.5
a
stories.
foot shorter only.
Yeah,
28 Cooper, yes, 36 foot 2 inch.
Yeah.
but it's.
And it's actually larger, well, it's got a similar square footage. to
Yeah.
this.
It's
And,
same
So, no, that's not, this one is the planning board share metric, which is including the basement.
So if you include your base, did you include the parking, the garage in your living space?
No, the garage is.
No.
Okay, so how much, including the garage and including the house, how big
So
is
it's
this thing?
5580,
5580.
including the finished ground floor.
Okay, so,
Double lot.
so this house is not really. I'm just looking at these plans here. Your garage is bigger than most houses. On this property, like in the surrounding area, it's not really fitting in.
Footprint wise.
Yes, if you measure the house and look at how much space it takes up, yes, it matches exactly with your garage.
You'll
That
notice
is
the
true.
garage is a beautiful from the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, okay, but the house. Your garage is the size of most of the houses around you. This is a way bigger house than is in that area. Okay, I don't have any floor plans of this. And I don't have any measurements of floor plans, and when you don't give me measurements, I always say no. 100% of the time. So I need to have plans that have measurements in this. I've said this a lot. Do you understand what I need from you?
What do I need?
You want floor,
I want floor plans with measurements, okay? All right, that has to happen.
that will help you approve the project?
I don't accept any project with incomplete or plans without measurements. If there's any plans or without measurements, I send them back. That is, if you don't want to give me plans with measurements, that's okay, but I'm just gonna let you know that's gonna prejudice me against this project to such a high level, because there has to be measurements and there has to be plans.
There's absolutely no problem with giving you. a plan.
Okay, good, all right, so we need to do that. My main concern with this project is that looking at all the houses in here, this doesn't look like all of those, it's way bigger. Like way bigger,
It's
and
also double the size land of all those. houses.
yes. Yes, I agree with you, you're taking two plots and turning it into one. The village is trying to increase density and you're decreasing density. So it's probably something you don't wanna bring up. It's huge and you're asking to make it bigger. Okay? That's a big ask. When you're building the biggest building in the neighborhood and you wanna make it taller, that's pretty big.
Not taller than the neighboring houses, but taller than the code.
It's slightly up, I mean, it's.
It's 38
it could be-
there.
It could be looking at this wrong also, but it looks like the property is slightly uphill from. I agree with the property
Yeah.
on either side of it too.
It's the properties at the top of the hill. and
Yeah.
The hill on all sides.
I can't stop picturing that it's tall, but it's also high.
Again, one of the reasons we designed it the way we have is from the street. It's gonna look very, very different, and no one will see these other elevations. The house is at 87 feet off the road. We could put a house 50 feet off the road that's 30 feet tall, which would impact my neighbor and everyone else a lot more. We wouldn't need to be here to do that.
Right.
I mean, I drove past there today, I mean, I didn't realize it was 87,
I wanna see this.
but it's back there, I mean, you have a lot of. It's open, it's back, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
I was really concerned just to verify in terms of the size and how it would impact, 34 in particular. You're set back there.
Yeah, I haven't personally, I'm looking on maps, I have not personally driven back there since receiving this.
In driving there, you're definitely not gonna impact the sight line of any of the properties that are there. And I don't.
Driving through and looking at the houses that are currently there and seeing the current plans that you don't think.
I don't think you're gonna see
stand
much
out.
of a difference. No, I don't think you'd see much of a difference. In driving through that neighborhood, that they don't.
Do we have any other questions?
I don't think so, I mean, I personally don't.
No, any other questions? No, this time, no. No, okay, do you have anything else you wanna add?
You've asked us first.
I guess I do have a question for us. It's two lots that you, I know you own both. Is there anything that needs to be done procedurally to combine those? Do we have to?
They're combining them with, they'll have to go to the planning board. to
Okay, so we
combine
don't have
that.
to worry about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll have to go to planning board for site plan and also combining the lots.
Okay.
But they, not to speak for them, but they wanted to pursue this first before they designed the house.
Right.
If you didn't approve the variance, it's a different design. So that's why they started with the CBA.
We applied to the planning board at the same time, but we'll see them.
Wait.
Yeah.
After.
This has nothing to do with the current property, you're combining two separate.
Yes.
Yeah, so you'll,
There's.
you just happen to live in 28 with 30, 32
We
becoming.
I've had those for years.
Sean, this will need referral to the county planning board, but if you're gonna ask them for
Yeah.
changes, we need to wait until you get whatever changes you're gonna ask for. So if it, and the same with, whenever you set up a public hearing, we should refer it to the county. Planning Board. The reason it has to go to the county planning board is it borders the town village line. So, and it's for a height variance, so that height variances have to go to the county.
I could be way off base here, but with it backing up to a preserve. Can we request? A point of view from the developers of that?
You absolutely can request whatever simulations you would want. At least in my opinion, and I defer to David's opinion, but I believe you can. Especially when you're dealing with a height variance, that's a very visual thing, much more so than a setback.
Well, we're sitting here, I'm taking into consideration that from the road, it looks like this, and from the back, it doesn't matter because there's creek in a path, but. If they were gonna be a bridge and another path, you know, like these are things I wanna weigh into my consideration, because. There's definitely, I mean, that's only been preserved for officially for 3 years, 5 years.
Well, I could say something.
Sorry, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
apologize, not tonight.
So
Here it comes.
I just did a quick measurement on this. Is this the scale?
It should be the scale.
Okay, so one elevation I got was, you gave me one elevation of 31 feet. I measured the other one, I got 40. I measured the other one, I got 38. I got the other one, I got 40. So like, like, I'm a little confused on that.
From the other side, it's from the ground
Oh,
level.
measuring from the ground here to the top of the roof is
Right.
40. The
Yeah, but
ground
we have to-
here to the top of here
It's
is
on a hill.
31.
It's on a
The top here to this area is 40. And from here to here is,
Right, but if you look on the west
Part
elevation,
of that is shorter.
there's a dimension that gives you the high grade to low grade. And then that gives you the middle of it, and that's the bottom of the 35 foot or 34'6"
alright,
building height.
that would be 34. That's 34.6.
We were asking for 5 feet because, thickness of shingles, we'd all be breaking what we just requested.
And that goes to what, I think your point, Mike, that it's a median.
It's
of
a
the-
median.
No, median, excuse me.
So what's the
The way
median on the east side?
good thing to interpret it is you measure the height of the four
34 is
corners
overall.
and you find
That's
that
right, that
the mean.
it's overall as an assessment, that it's basically half of it is at the high grade and less than half of it is at the low grade. And so I've got, just a straight up,
So
it's
this is
slightly
calculated, this
conservative.
is calculated by the software though, it's measuring it all the way around.
There's nothing calculated on my
Okay,
software.
so-
I did it. The architect.
So the north, we have a measurement.
Yes,
The south, I see a measurement. I don't see a measurement on the east.
we put in the north measurement just to show.
I mean, the roof peak is at the same height on all so
So
you're right, there isn't one on the east elevation, but I
In the
could
front.
put one on there, readily, if that was the requirement.
Okay.
Yeah, the clearer, since we're kind of in a way dealing with an imaginary line, because that does have to be a mean.
Yeah.
The clearer that you make that, just not putting words in.
No, that makes sense.
That's gonna help.
I can do an average grade line that just cuts through all 4 of them as a dash line for reference.
Because right now, we're basically, we're asking for 5 foot over a line that we're saying is maybe. Like.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing, on your south elevation, you have 34 feet, and I'm measuring 40. I don't see where your midline is. Cause it's an open basement that's all completely open, that would be right to the bottom. Where's the,
The midline of the whole house.
Of the
that's
whole
showing,
house,
not
so the
the-
south would be 40.
The south is the,
yeah, but they have 34.
but that's the whole house midline.
Yeah. So they took and drew. From north, there's a grade.
Sean, I have the same confusion, it's.
It's not, this isn't right. So this elevation on the south is flat, it's a flat surface, so there's no mid,
This is 40
that should be 40 feet, but he has it at 34.
from the
There's
midnight.
a midline showing, it's hard to see.
Yeah, it's
No,
right.
I don't, but what is that midline also? This is flat. Like the
Yeah,
midline
the
is.
property slopes from north to
The
south, correct?
average, it's the average grade that shows.
So the property slopes like this,
It's
and the
north
house
to
is
south.
like this. Across the back, it's going to be 40. Across the front, it's gonna be 31.
Probably the better way to show it would be to show the actual height at in each elevation, and then separately. Show the midline,
So do we,
because I think
If
I had the
it's-
same confusion that Sean's having in
The
his
text
initial
of it,
plans.
does it talk about the mean grade?
The mean grade is.
Mean grade is how the code reads, right?
Correct.
I'm doing it based on the code then. I'm giving you average grade, mean grade, and I'm giving you.
Understood,
From
yeah, but it's,
But on the south,
the
there's
question is how that mean grade has been calculated, is the question.
Right.
the south,
The south is lower than the mean grade, the south grade
The
is
south is,
lower
I
than the
think
mean.
south is lower
The
than,
lowest.
but it slopes from north
The
to south.
north is the highest.
Yes,
south
right by the road
lowest,
is the highest,
east
and then it
west are
slopes as you go to the back
across
of the
the
property.
average, yeah.
So your south is gonna,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, so
if this. If these two boxes were the forefront, and this were the slope of the grade, this is 34. This is all 40, this is 31 here and 40 back
yeah,
here.
then this measurement should be further down. Okay, so if we're gonna take an average, you don't get to cherry pick it, so that if this
Yeah,
one
so
goes,
that-
that one comes down then.
Because
If we're going for
doesn't show
the,
the-
yeah, you're applying,
If I
you're
may-
doing the average here, but you're not doing.
No,
If I can
no,
demonstrate-
The only reason that's showing, I asked to put that in to show what the height is from the street.
Okay, so what's the mean
Public
grade on the
height.
north elevation?
I can give you an easy way to determine that it's about halfway. If you look at the four elevations, so that the north elevation, it's all white. There, meaning it's all high grade at the
Mhm.
north elevation.
Okay,
At the south elevation, it's all low grade.
yes,
Then you look at the other two. You look at the east elevation, more than half of it is white. And if you look at the west elevation, just about more than half of it is white. That means that, that's
Okay.
rough
I
info.
understand that the line goes up, but that means on the north, that line has to come down. Because if you're gonna do an average, you just don't get to pick one and not the
You
other.
said you want to show the average in every single elevation
If-
and the
I'll add
absolute.
more
on every
dimensions
single
to
elevation.
clarify.
Yeah,
That's
because this
fine.
is not,
That optically helps. We can
The
do
north
that.
and south are gonna be graded.
The average
level.
absolute.
And average and absolute
The-
on every.
The north and south are going to be graded level,
helpful for.
and the property will look like this.
Like,
So
you
it's
guys-
already-
The mean is taking it from each corner.
This is the property, right?
On the north
Like this,
side and
right?
the south.
And you say the mean is going to be.
I was taking the
Yeah,
actual average, not the corner.
That means that one of them is going to increase, and the other one is going to increase.
Well,
Or you don't have to,
the-
this point up here.
Effectively, the average grade all the way around the house.
One line.
If you could
Yeah,
do so,
that's how they're doing it.
that's what my example was intended to convey.
I know the property does
That
slope,
is
so.
31
Yes,
feet
that's
to show
31,
the
so
street,
34
the
is down
street
there.
height only. I
Okay.
only wanted to show that
Yeah.
separately.
If
what it looks like
so
to the
3
public.
foot, that's 3 foot below the average,
Yeah,
and then the 40 is 3 foot.
above it,
So we
yes.
only showed that on the north elevation to show the public view of the house. It's 35 feet. I just wanted to point that out, that we could take it away if that confuse things, or change it completely in terms of what data we show.
What I need is a mean line going around the drawing on all the things consistently.
Okay.
And then a measurement off of that to each off of that line to each of the roof. Okay, because on some of the lines you're going to the mean and some you're going to
Just that north.
the grade,
just the north
and that's not
of
being
that.
consistent.
So the way that the code reads, when we would be giving. A variance of the 5 foot or off the mean line, even though the back is 10 feet.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because the building height definition states that it's measured from the mean height. So you have to follow the way the definition, because the schedule of saying 30 feet is based on the definition.
Right, so if that was.
So it may be in reality 35 feet on one side and 30 on the other, and I'm just making up numbers, but.
Right,
The mean, and the only way, and
Yeah,
I
that's-
think, Rob has agreed with me, the only way I know how to calculate it is to measure the
30.
point, the height at all 4 corners and come up with
Bury it more.
Yeah.
the
Five.
mean of those 4 numbers.
For like a walkout basis.
A very steep hill.
Yeah. But then I guess the mean, that's why they wanna do the mean, so you don't have to factor in grade. Yeah, it is interesting because there's. It's 40 foot on the back,
Yeah,
but that's not.
But
But
yes,
that's
the
not-
number of the houses is very tall in the back, because a number of them have the same structure.
Right.
The house is shorter in the front and the hill slopes away from the street.
are any of them 40 feet off the ground to? Point?
Our current one is 28 would be,
Well, it's
Fairly.
close.
but that's the mean, not
Right.
the, in more of the houses buried, more of the houses subterranean, so therefore the back is taller.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's houses there that are gonna see 40 feet, if you were taking from the bottom of the back of the house on some of those slopes and you
Yeah.
were out to the roof.
Yeah,
I
they
think
so
you see
a couple
some-
they have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause there's a
I
number
would not think about it.
of almost
A
37.
bunch there.
They're almost-
Yeah, there's one that's
There's 37, yeah, so there's.
And there's a couple that are almost 37.
Drops like.
Yeah, 6 of them are over
Yeah,
35 foot.
always
40 feet.
away from like the height, no one's looking at the height.
Right.
of those houses back to the wood.
Unless.
I mean, there's 21 Cooper is 37 feet.
That's
is
the
building
mean,
height.
yeah.
And that's from the
That's
the
mean,
mean,
that's the
that's
mean,
not
so
the
if you're,
absolute.
depending on the slope on
It
which
could
it's
be
built.
42, 43, yeah, easily.
Obviously, the dimensions are important, that doesn't bother me as much, I am curious as far as if. There are plans that were to, we'll have to look into that. To develop that part of the preserve at all. Basically, as of now, with the exception of the bridge, those are illegally cut mountain bike trails that they just turned into.
Yeah. They've added more.
Yeah.
there's-
I guess, one thing you could consider is. Did you know that so many of those buildings were too tall? Did it bother you visually that they were,
Well,
many of them were?
no,
over 5
right
foot?
now, as you pointed out, the trail and the preserve is on the other side of the creek, but the
Yeah.
preserve can develop trails
Yeah,
up to their
but
property.
none of those people are gonna mind either, cause nobody's gonna see the 5 foot. Cause you can't see it.
From the back,
It's quite.
No, I'm
steep.
saying, when you drive around the Green
Right.
Acres neighborhood, you didn't know
that it's
that
already.
most of those are too tall. Because it
Like I
doesn't
said, I
bother
don't
you
know if that
visually.
helps.
And some of the, you're supposed to judge is whether it's appropriate to the community and whether it's harmful to the community.
Hardly
Or
that
the
there's
benefits sought.
possibility that now's the time to correct. A mistake
We're the
that was.
last. Feel free.
Right, that's why we seek the variance.
Yeah, right,
Because we,
Yeah.
no.
yeah, cause
I mean, it's the last house going in, top of the neighborhood.
That is actually another, yeah, I think
Yeah,
it is the
no.
last vacant lot,
Yeah.
correct?
yeah, but too big, yeah,
That's too big, yeah,
Yeah.
don't talk about that.
that's good,
Well, that's not this board.
yeah.
They sat on the market for a long time before any purchase it.
And just, even if you approve the variance, if the board doesn't approve the, merging of the 2 lots, then the variance doesn't
Right.
happen, so, just,
Yeah,
so.
all right, I don't have any more questions,
So
no.
what's our procedural?
So. 2 questions, one is, do you have enough to set for public hearing or not? Do you want the new information before you do that? And then if you do set it for public hearing, we need to refer it to the county. We should classify it for seeker, David, because it's not a setback variance. It's a height variance.
I'm thinking the same thing.
It's an unlisted action, I believe.
Say that again?
I believe it's an unlisted action.
Have you looked up the list?
I did, and it's only setback variances that are the type twos. It doesn't mention height variances.
Well, that's what I think right now, and I'm happy to look at the list, but assuming it's an unlisted action. Then we have to decide whether we want to do a coordinated review,
Right.
because the planning board is looking at the lot line.
Right, see, the difference is in the planning board, it will be a type two action
Okay.
for two reasons. One is it's because it's construction of a single family residential. And two, because it's a merger, the lot line merger is also a type two action.
Well, now you're raising an important point. Does the construction of the single family home type two action affect us?
Well, and that's, the variance is, just by quick observation, which I defer to you, is that the variance is not listed as a type two action, but the building of the home is, so
Right.
the question is, how you guys view it.
And that's what I need to look up, but from
Yeah,
the sound.
you don't have to do it tonight, you can do it next week.
Well, from the sounds of that, I will look it up. From the sounds of that, it sounds like a type two action.
Okay.
Cause you're saying one category doesn't apply, but the other one,
Yeah, I didn't know how the variance, because the variance is not specifically listed as a type two action.
so it does, that category would not make this type two, but the other one might. So let me look it up and get
Okay.
back to you on that.
Yeah.
But if you wanna wait for those new drawings before you set up a public hearing.
How much of a rush are you?
Yeah,
I'm able to produce the edits to the elevations and give you I can get that to you in a week or two. I mean, that's timely enough for your review.
Would you guys be willing to let me review the plan since I seem to be.
Yeah, in order to get to the county planning board, we would probably need it by no later than the end of next
Well,
week.
this is unlisted. We're gonna need an EAF to get it to the county.
Sure, no, they did the EAF.
They got one?
Hey, you did the EAF. Yeah, so they did the EAF.
Okay, I think we could ask Mike to do that.
Yeah, because we applied to planning board concurrently, so we filled
Well,
out
the
everything.
for the planning board, it's type two for the planning board.
Right, but they still filled out an EAF because we required the initial form
Okay,
for our application.
good, very good.
All right. Since I seem to be the stickler for plans, would you guys be willing to let me look at those plans ahead of time? And if I think they're okay, I'll let you guys know if I think there's a
Well,
problem.
I mean, we'll have them in time for the public hearing
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so I email the
Yeah.
PDFs and then follow with.
It's type two.
It is that good?
Yeah, there's a category for granting of an area variance for a single
So
family
you
home.
can get me some.
Okay, so then you can do that resolution.
This is an area variance for single family home, right?
Okay,
It's there.
Type two.
And you got, week plus is fine, 10 days, like good enough?
for the county, Sean, I would need it by no later than in my hands by like Thursday of next week. So 9 days from today.
Okay,
It's less.
and,
Otherwise, they're not gonna review it until March.
okay, all right, so we want to get that in, all right. The other thing too, several of the board members expressed interest in seeing what it would look like with a flattened roof. So I know that in AutoCAD, you can shrink the roof really fast, so you can do that, so we'd like to see that as well.
want to pull that out? We have,
Yeah, it doesn't have to wait.
we started out there, which is why we reached the point of
Right.
creation of the variance.
Right, so here they are.
It's a little bit like
Yeah.
the chat, but,
See your things looks for us,
yeah,
Yeah,
quick glance.
but, Okay,
from the front, it looks the same. From the back, it looks a little different.
front,
Yeah, just get a good scene,
Yeah.
We'll be looking,
Yeah, so, okay. So what's secret, when do we have to do, type
Type 2.
two?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so first of all, I'd like to, all right, so you're gonna get the plans to me in 10 days. That will give us enough time to get them to the county, Mike?
9 days for mine.
9 days, by
Okay.
Thursday,
Thursday,
the
okay.
23rd.
Mike's one is more important than ours, okay, because if you miss that, then you're gonna be pushed back a long time. Okay.
This forces you to do a couple weird things.
Yeah, it creates roof issues,
And
so it's really,
so
yeah,
the ball team sheet has some uneven.
yeah, I mean.
It's. That line is pushed down farther.
Would you be able to just email a copy of what you just showed them, because I should get that in the records since
Okay.
they're looking at it. And considering it as an alternative, that definitely should be in our record.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
So, we're gonna motion, I have a motion to turn this into a CEQA type 2.
Motion.
Oh, second, okay, vote. Okay, so now that's going to the county. You are going to get us plans in the next 7 days.
Yeah, no, we still need to do the county as a separate motion.
Yes, okay, okay, so now I'm sorry, for the county, I motion to send the site variance to the county.
Motion.
Second, vote. Okay, that's done. So we're gonna try for a public hearing next time. So you're gonna have to contact
February 11th.
February 11th. And you're gonna have to do all the postings and the sign and all that good stuff. So
So I
I'm,
think you are the neighbors though.
Yeah.
yeah,
Good start.
you got it, yeah, it's a tight neighborhood. Does Stano approve of it? That's really the. I don't want her yelling at.
No, she's down, she can't.
Can't say.
She's
not an answer.
Oh,
Look at the fear. All right,
We just had 21 Cooper, I'm like, who is that? It's not.
yeah.
okay, so we're going to, it's a motion to have a public hearing at our next meeting.
Motion.
Second. Vote. Aye, unanimous. Okay, is that all we need, Mike?
I think so.
Alright.
So the county planning board is pending your acceptance of the new plan.
How would I go about reaching out or having you reach out, or how would we do that to ask for? A statement from the preserve. No, the preserve. I'm thinking similarly to how.
So you would just authorize either myself or the chair to write a letter requesting comments. So we would send them the letter just requesting comments on the application on any impacts to the preserve. That simple.
Yeah.
Okay, I motion to have Mike write a letter to the Milton Preserve to have their opinions on this property development.
Motion.
And do you want it by a certain date or just for the public hearing?
By the
By
public
the
hearing.
public
it's
hearing.
fine.
Okay, so I'll say by the Friday before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay,
I don't know if it's possible to, I mean, they'll know where it is, but I guess just inquiring.
Yeah, I'll try to find out a contact and email them the drawings so they can see the drawings.
Right, alright, thank you,
So who, that was your motion?
yeah.
yes,
Okay.
all right, that's it.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Okay, are we done?
Well, you wanna do the attorney executive section or an attorney client? You can do either way. Either way, I'm gonna end the process.
So I motion to end this meeting.
Okay, the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, okay, vote.